Okay, we can get started in a few minutes, maybe. Like a minute.
We start now. Go ahead, dude. You got this.
Okay. All right, welcome everyone to our panel with Ariel and Misha. The two of them are recent grads from UT Austin, and they're both doing some pretty exciting things in the upcoming year. So I'll let them introduce themselves.
Or we can introduce each other.
Actually.
Okay. Oh, yes. Yes.
All right. So, I mean, if that's okay with you, I don't want to actually.
Go for it.
No, yeah, absolutely.
All
right. So I'll start. So in a little land known as Switzerland, Ariel's mother was walking down the street and suddenly struck by lightning. Some say that makes Zeus Ariel's dad. And 20 some odd years later, he plops down in the middle of Texas in Austin and does 4 years of computer science at the University of Texas at Austin. And during his adventures, he meets many characters, one of which is me. And he also plays a little bit of soccer. He has a knee injury, which thankfully is no longer a knee injury. Spends his hours equally in the basement of the GDC as he does at Greg. He's as comfortable behind the wheel of a stick shift as he is in a pool. And he'll be taking his talents to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, doing a Puchte in science in August.
All right, that was quite an introduction. Thank you,
That's
sir.
all we have for now.
Wow.
All right, let's see. So Misha, let's see, where do I start? One day, 20 some odd years ago, in the middle of the Siberian wilderness, a polar bear somehow birthed a human being, half man, half god. He has the left leg the size of a tree trunk, which absolutely pulverizes anyone who stands in front of him on the soccer field. This man is an absolute god. Anyway, he plopped down in Austin as well somehow.
Okay.
By complete luck, we met at like a climbing event thing at Greg Gym. But yeah, this man is a statistical genius, does crazy AI stuff and shits on me for my research, which I got to get back on him for that at some point. But so yeah, Misha does some awesome AI stuff and shits on me for doing systems research. And comically enough, his job is now back-end systems work. So I guess I got the last laugh there. But Misha's doing it also is absolutely rolling in the money right now as a full-time employee at Microsoft, working on their Azure cloud infrastructure. And yeah, he's Russian, if you didn't gather from my introduction or from the beginning of my introduction, plays soccer as well and is an absolute god and has been my gym partner at Greg many a time. So.
Wow, thank you for those introductions. I learned a lot of new things from both of them. So my first question, you kind of touched on this, but maybe you can talk about it more, is how long have you known each other and how did you meet?
Yeah.
We've known each other for 4 beautiful, lovely years. We met through the computer science program and starting a co-ed soccer team together, and through social dance. I spent a lot of time there. Went on a spring break trip together that when you are amongst bison dung and horses that Ariel is allergic to, there is nothing that brings you closer.
You're allergic to horses?
Unfortunately so.
Oh. How did you find that out?
My dad used to ride horses and I tried. It didn't last long.
And he has asthma too.
I see.
Yeah, completely unrelated, but scary nowadays. Anyway, so yeah, we met like, we're both in the Turing program, and so we met through that. But I think we first met at like some like Turing climbing event that we did, and we decided to like start a soccer team together. And since then, we've been pretty much inseparable, I think.
Wow. The start of a era, I guess.
Exactly, yes.
So my next question is, what are like some of the things in college that you did that you're really glad you did?
Mhm.
I'll let you start with this one.
All right. So let's see. I'm definitely glad that. So I really like the CS program. And I think like there's a ton of exciting stuff going on here. But it can also be easy to sort of get sucked in and only make CS friends, I guess. Or at least that was my experience. I'm very glad that I sort of branched out a little bit more and tried different things. But not too many things. I mean, like, I don't know. I think it's bad to try to do everything all at once. So anyway, I tried. I played a lot of soccer with Misha, as you said. We made a team primarily outside of CS. I think there was like one other CS major, and that was really nice just because it gave me very diverse perspectives, and it's nice to know that there's a world outside of like the crazy bubble that CS is. So I was very glad I did that, and then Misha also, as he said, I injured my knee like sophomore year playing soccer actually, and that actually ended up being like a blessing and a curse, because I had to have like knee surgery and stuff, and as a result, I needed to like work out my knee pretty often in order to be able to play soccer again. But that led to my like crazy workout schedule, which basically I work out every morning at like 5 a.m. Because I realized like I'm not gonna just work out my legs and have like tree trunks down there and then just be a little toothpick up on top. So I decided like I'd work out every day, and since then I think I've only missed a few days since like 2.5 years ago or so, and that's definitely been one of the things I was very thankful I did, because I think like having that physical fitness and that physical / mental balance, I think, has really set me up well for my academic endeavors, and is a huge part of my personal happiness as well nowadays. So I'm very glad I invested so heavily in my physical and like spiritual health, as well as academics.
Yeah.
Yeah, to echo that, Ariel once told me that it's like one way to think about your life is your spiritual, your physical, and then your intellectual health, and just make sure that you're checking up on yourself in those areas. And all of that can be summarized by saying that you should learn about yourself while you're at university. And I'm glad I did things that allowed me to do that. Because in high school, I'm sure like most people, just taking classes and doing whatever my teacher said was right or my parents said was right. And through applying to college, also a very similar thing. But now when I'm done with college, and I sometimes ask people like, hey, what should I do next? Or ask my parents, what should I do next? Because they've always told me, what should I do next? And they were like, well, I don't know, that's up to you. And so I'm glad that I spent 4 years taking hard classes, taking PE classes, joining teams, learning how to be my own rock was a lot. So being the person that can fix yourself in a tough situation has helped a lot.
Yeah.
To be more concrete, I guess I joined Convergent. That was like a business org. So I interact with a bunch of people that weren't in computer science. I took social dance, which made me have to interact with people, lots of people, sometimes embarrass myself, kind of be on the spotlight. And then how did I learn to be my own rock? Do hard things and be okay with sometimes they're not working out. My first couple of semesters were definitely some of the worst grades I've had in my life, but I felt like it was okay because I was still learning. I was with other people, and it ended up okay too. Oh yeah, I used like 5 out of my 6 Q drops. That's what they're there for, right? Maybe not so much for research, but I'll let Ariel touch on that.
We have a quick viewer question, if that's okay. I just didn't want the viewer to wait too long. But they ask, I guess this is more for Ariel, but Misha, you can answer too. What would you recommend for people looking to pursue a master's or PhD? Just general personality traits, I guess.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Do you want specifically personality traits or?
No, just anything you would recommend for them.
Sure. So firstly, I'd encourage you to think like, why do you want to do a master's or PhD? So if you know you want to go to industry and you just want to be a software engineer, it doesn't really make sense, I don't think, to go for grad school, just because you'll basically get the same job afterwards. Unless you want to work on something that's more specialized and more interesting, like if you want to work on some machine learning thing, oftentimes, I think pretty much always you need either a master's or probably a PhD in order to do that. Or if you want to work on some like more exciting, like specialized field within industry, going for a master's, I think, is great. A PhD is a long commitment. And CS is unique in the sense that you don't need a master's in order to get a PhD. You can just apply straight to PhDs out of college. And kind of the deal is in undergrad you pay them, and in your PhD they pay you. So you don't have to pay for school. It's around 6 years long, 5 to 6 years generally. So it's a big commitment, but you're working on fun stuff. You're literally working on only things that interest you, which is nice. And you get paid to do it, and come out with a lot more value, which you can add to a company, or if you want to go into academia, that's something you can do as well. So you get a lot out of it, and you get paid to do it, which I think is a great deal. And the PhD will let you do super interesting work. It'll give you the flexibility to basically pick your own projects a lot more, or manage and shape projects a lot more. Whether that be in an industry research lab like Microsoft Research, or VMware Research, or Google Research, or whether that be in industry itself as a software engineer, you can, or as a CTO or something like that. Or if you go into academia, of course, you get complete flexibility on what you do and what you work on. So I think a PhD is good if you are wanting to challenge yourself, I think, and care a lot about having the flexibility to work on what you want to work on. So I'd say those are good reasons to get a PhD. And my advice, if you're interested in applying to PhD programs, or master's programs as well, is try to get started on research early. The more research experience you have, the better position you'll be when you apply. And try to line up your application ahead of time. Basically, the only thing that matters, like they don't care at all about GRE scores. Grades they care a little bit about, but at the big schools they don't really care about grades that much. The main thing that matters is like your letters of recommendation, and any research experience you may have, and that usually means publications. So you need at least 3 letters of rec. 3 to 5 is good. I had 3, and I didn't have issues when I applied to places. So I'd say like try to strategically plan out. Okay, I mean I'm either a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior. I need at least 2 very solid letters of recommendation and a 3rd like good one. So try to plan out like, all right, I'm going to do a research project with this professor, and then try and do a research project with another professor, or show up to office hours a lot and take grad classes and stuff, and try to like plan ahead of time so that when it comes to your application, it's just easy. You just ask a couple people for letters of rec, throw an essay together, and then you're done. So that was a very long-winded answer, and please let me know if any of it was unclear. I'd be happy to expound more on it. But in summary, do a master's if you want to do ML, or you want to do some like very niche work. Do a PhD if you care a lot about having freedom to work on what you want to work on, and you get a nice pay bump as well if you go to industry. And then do and get ready for those applications by starting research early, and working ideally with a couple different professors.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Cool. So I guess this like plays right into like my next question. So for both of you, like research and industry are like very different paths to choose. So my question is like, why did each of you choose the one that you did?
Would you like to go ahead first, Misha? Would you like to unmute yourself as well?
Sorry, I'd like to hear your answer first.
Okay, sure. So for me, I did a couple internships in college in the first 2 summers, I guess. I interned at AT&T as a software engineer. Was not a fan. Then I interned at Bloomberg. They treated us nicely, but was not a fan of the work. So I guess I didn't really like my industry experiences. I didn't find the work fulfilling and meaningful or challenging, I guess. I did sort of have grad school in mind from the get-go, so I tried research and really, really enjoyed it. It's really exciting to work on. I mean, research is so open-ended that you can pick whatever you want to work on. So you're really only working on what fascinates you the most. And if you're doing grad school, you're literally getting paid to learn what fascinates you the most, I guess, and become a world expert in an area that you find interesting. So I found that really appealing. I really liked my research experiences, and I found it really exciting to solve problems that have never been solved before, as opposed to just stringing some APIs together, which is not what industry work is, but that was my experience in industry during my internships. So I really liked the flexibility of working on what I'm passionate about, and I felt like it connected more easily to a deeper meaning, which for me, which was improving the world on some metric.
Really good answer. I guess the reason I chose industry was, I guess, maybe kind of the opposite of Ariel's situation, is that I was in the FRI program, Freshman Research Initiative. So I did some research in the robotics lab for 2 semesters, and then attended some research talks with professors and hung out in the lab a good amount of time. And then I also did industry internships at State Farm, another small retail tech company in Austin, and then as a data scientist at Facebook. And overall, I liked my work in industry better than I liked the situation in the lab. For me personally, sometimes industry has more resources for things you want to get done. You, I guess, get paid more starting off than most PhDs, but you know that levels out in the long run. Economics wise, it depends on your personal situation. But I think the biggest reason is just, what do you like to do day to day, right? Do you like to read papers, write papers? Do you like to work on bleeding edge problems that don't really have solutions first? They're really open-ended. You have to be, if you're doing a PhD, you have to be really comfortable with being like your own rock, right? And you have professors to help you out there, but you're going to be pushing a lot of this yourself.
Yeah,
Say again?
So there's a lot of uncertainty. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, lots of uncertainty. Projects fail all the time because you're inherently doing something that no one's done before. There's not a plan for success. In industry, also depends on, like, if you're doing startups or big companies. I chose to work at a big company because I liked that they have systems in place for success already. They have like decades of experience onboarding people, teaching them how to do things at scale. And I still think there are lots of interesting problems to solve in industry. They're just different than the problems you solve in academia. Industry problems are, how do you do things also at scale? How do you do things that are for customers, for real people that work in the real world with real world limits? And industry, I don't know, Ariel, would you say industry is a better work-life balance than a PhD, or is that still just dependent on the individual?
I think that depends a lot on the individual, on the company, and on the research program. When you pick a PhD, this is definitely something you want to ask the students about, and the advisor that you work with, because like, I don't know, at some places and with some advisors, they expect you to be highly available, fault tolerant, low boot time service, so they just expect you to be available literally 24/7. At other places, not as much. But yeah, I would say in general, during a PhD, you're probably working more than most people in industry. If you're like a super small startup, not necessarily, but for the most part, yeah. But it's on stuff you enjoy, so it's a trade-off.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like you guys have like a good, I guess, views on like the two things, and like come from like very similar like backgrounds, and then like chose different paths. So I think it's very helpful for people to hear about your experiences. So I guess my next question is like, Misha, you mentioned that you had done like a data science internship, and then you ended up doing like a software job, and then like Ariel, like you decided to like do systems research, which is like a very specific thing. So my question is like, why did you both pick that path within like the path of like industry and research?
I can start this one if you want to have some time to think. Okay. My first internship was just like, please give me a job. Please put on a piece of paper that I am able to come into the office, be useful, and come out, wash, rinse, repeat. My second internship was, okay, I have people believe that I will show up. Now it's time to show them that I can work at a software company. So I chose an Austin company that I knew I'd be doing like specifically good software things. And there was, an open position, and my friend had worked there. He said he recommended it, and I really enjoyed it. Third year, I said to myself, okay, this software engineering thing, it can work. I've worked at it before. I can do the day-to-day. I understand how people think. I like the types of problems I'm solving. I like the opportunities. There's tons of different companies that need software engineers. I'm good. And I know how to get that job now, right? I know what the skills I need in order to impress the people who work there so they can give me a job. Now let's try something that I think I might like, but I don't know, because I was also a math major, and so I really liked the statistics. I liked how you use math to answer questions about why something happens. I liked all the statistical paradoxes or neat little, not mind games, but like survivorship bias, for example. I thought that was an extremely cool concept. So I did it.
That shit is so cool. I'm sorry, I just learned about that. It was awesome.
Yeah. If you don't know what it is, Google it. There's like an airplane World War II example or something like that. It's great. So I applied for Facebook data science through some friends, did data science. And at that particular role, at that particular company, I was not as good at it, or didn't have like the necessary background to do well. And that just reaffirmed to me that, okay, I love math. I don't have to give up math. But as a job, I think I've spent 4 years preparing myself for a particular type of role. So I'm going to apply to that role to set myself up for success. And then that's what I'm going to like start off this next big chapter in my life. So that's why I chose to go back to software engineering, and specifically through like talks with Ariel and some of my other friends, like startups, mid-sized, big company. I thought that the big company has all the characteristics, like clear career growth, horizontal mobility to work on different teams while not having to switch companies, large resources, and to speak frankly, like good benefits and job security. So that's why I decided to go to Microsoft.
Yeah.
Yeah, great answer. So for me personally, I think I mentioned I've been thinking about grad school from early on. So I knew I wanted to start doing research early. And before I started doing research, I wanted to sort of get a flavor of every field a little bit. And by the time, so I think like after you've done operating systems is a great time to start research, just because you can take easier courses and do research then if you want to. And you'll have had a flavor of a few different important areas of CS. So I really enjoyed my computer architecture and OS classes. Unpopular opinion there, but I really enjoyed them. And I guess by that winter break after OS, I decided I wanted to do either OS research or AI research, because everyone says they want to do AI research. And so I tried to read. I read a couple papers from each research area. The AI papers seemed like they were written in Chinese, and the OS papers I actually really enjoyed. It was the first paper I'd read and thought like, wow, this is actually a really cool idea. I want to read more about this. I think it was anyway, I won't get into the details, but I read like one research paper or two research papers in systems. I found I enjoyed them and decided, all right, I'm going to give it a go. So I started doing systems research. Really enjoyed it, and took I took like grad OS, which is a really great class. I'd highly recommend. And took a security class and learned a little bit about security, and started working with a professor who does a lot of work at the intersection of OS and security. And just through my research experiences, I found I really enjoyed that, and I feel like it played well to my skills, I guess. Like, I'm the kind of person who can, if I'm stuck on something, I can sit down and bang my head against the wall until the wall moves, which is oftentimes the case with systems research. Sometimes you just have to work for a while to get things to compile or to find some small race condition. And that is something that I can get through, I guess, and still enjoy the overall product. So, yeah, I guess this is a long-winded way of saying, like, I tried a few different things. This is the first thing that I really enjoyed. When I got deeper into it, I found that I really loved it, and I really enjoyed thinking about like the abstract ways in which you can compose different systems to get different properties out of them, and how you evaluate those trade-offs. And I liked that systems has a good balance between theory and practice. It's well situated in the middle. So that's what really drew me to it, and that's why I'm going to continue to do it. And just to tag on to that, I'm also thinking about doing a little bit of research in the area of privacy, specifically. And the reason why I'm thinking of doing that is because there's a great new professor at MIT who I get along really well with, and has written some cool papers in the area of privacy. He's starting next year as well, which is a good fit. And privacy also speaks to me, like, personally, just because it's very clear to see how that impacts and positively affects the world. And that's something that I care about a lot. So
yeah, for sure. Cool. That's really cool. They're very like useful thoughts for like people to also be considering as they're kind of deciding what they want to do specifically within like industry or research. My next question is like, maybe both of you can talk a little bit more about like what you're doing now and like any future plans that you may have. I know like you guys are both starting new roles, so like maybe that's kind of up in the air, but just any thoughts on that?
Would you like to go first, Misha, or shall I?
Go ahead.
Sounds good. So this past summer, I've been taking a lot of time off to reflect, I guess, before I start my PhD. Just because I think it's important to do that. I definitely was busy during my undergrad, so I didn't do that as much as I would have liked. And I think I'm about to face a lot of tough mental and emotional challenges as I start my PhD, and I wanted to be well situated for that and well grounded in my thinking. So I've been doing a lot of personal reflection about what the next goal is, and how I want to get there, what I want that to look like, and what I want my PhD experience to look like. I also took a 3-week trip with a bunch of my friends. I just got back yesterday, actually. That was a lot of fun. We went road tripping to like Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah, and like checked out a bunch of national parks, did a ton of hiking, and I really appreciated that because it sort of allowed me to peak in my level of disorderliness and unhealthy habits, so that now I'm actually very excited to live a very orderly life and not eat crappy fast food for every meal of the day. So yeah, Misha will be especially shocked by hearing that. But anyway, so I
We
took
should
a
have
lot.
a separate Zoom call for your dietary habits, my friend.
We'll get to that. Yeah. Basically, I took a lot of time off this summer, and I did a little bit of research here and there, did a little bit of reading here and there, but mostly took time off. And going forward, I'm looking forward to. I mean, grad school and PhD, you don't really have to take many classes. I'm taking 4 total over the 6 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's basically it's like working at a full-time job, except you're doing research instead of software engineering. And the first year you take some classes and that's it. So going forward, I'm looking forward to working on cool projects. I've been thinking about a couple things that I'd like to work on, and I'm excited to try out some new sports and stuff like that. I want to try rowing, which Boston's a great place to do that.
Yeah.
A bit more salsa dancing and stuff like that. Meet some people when I get up there and coronavirus subsides, hopefully.
Yeah, sounds good.
Man has big plans. He's going places. Hitch your wagon to him.
You first.
Me first. Yeah, hitch your wagon to me, and I'll hitch my front to him. Yes.
I'll hitch to the back of the tail. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Could you repeat the wording of the question again?
I don't remember it exactly, but the gist
Okay.
of it was like, what are you doing now, and like, what are you planning on doing in the future?
Gotcha. So now that I have started a role at Microsoft, and I am this is like my first semester of freshman year, but this is the first time that I'll be doing things without a structure. You know, there was like daycare, then elementary school, high school, college, all of that was structured. Now, majority of my day is unstructured. So I'm having conversations with myself about how much time do I want to spend on each particular thing: my career, my health, my relationships with family and friends. And then I want to continue to learn. That was the thing that my grandfather, my father underlined to me very, very intently in our conversations, is that learning should not stop when you get out of school. If you want to, have fun and enjoy your life, it does well to continue learning, because learning is fun, and sets you up to go even more and learn new things. So I'm trying to figure out how can I continue learning in my career, doing stuff outside of work. So I bought a guitar. So I have never played a musical instrument in my life, but starting to get into that. Yeah, like Ariel said, new sports. Once Ariel and I are both in retirement, which for me will be 30, for him like 60, we'll open up a jazz club with him playing the piano and or the trumpet, Scott Cow on the what does he play, sax?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Scott Cow on the sax, Drew on the flute. Gotta have Drew on the flute. Me on the guitar or the triangle, whichever is better.
Wow, love it. I would listen.
So yeah, musically, sports wise, trying to mimic Ariel's insane fitness nut routine, and financials too. Have a decent income for the first time in my life, so it's important to plan for my future, and I'm learning a lot about how to do that.
Yeah. Wow, you sound like you're adulting for real.
Yeah, adulting is fun. I've talked to a lot of people of like what's it like been after college, right? Like, do you meet friends? It's not as easy because not everyone's not like conglomerated in one, university for you to pick and choose from. But you have a lot more autonomy in what you choose to do, and people still make friends that way. You just have to have some initiative.
Makes sense. Yeah. So my next question is, I guess this is more for like once like Corona kind of subsides. But like, what is something that you're looking forward to the most in like upcoming, however long it'll take?
I have a big goal. Oh yeah, I have lots of plans. Okay, I can do a lot of the things that I plan to do during Corona times, actually. So the guitar, learning magic tricks, close up street magic tricks, Then big plans, move to Seattle, because that's where my office will be. But I'm excited to move to a new city. I've heard it's like a North Weird Austin kind of thing. What else? Then I have a really big trip planned with my grandfather and my father and myself. We want to visit Northern Ossetia, which is a country within Russia that used to be part of the USSR. Anyway, it's like sheep shepherd villages in mountains, and that's where my grandfather is from, and that's where like my dad grew up part of his life too. And I've never been there, and we apparently have family there or something like that. So I'd want the 3 generations of Shaposhnikovs to meet at that place and see where it all started.
Wow, that's really cool.
Oh, and get all of my friends that I've met in college to go to Russia too. You can either get a visa to Russia, again, if you want to, for like $200. You pay a travel company, or if you buy a ticket to a Baltic cruise, then it stops in St. Petersburg, and you can use your ticket as a visa, but it's valid for like I think like 5 hours or like a day or something like that. So make sure you get back to the ship on time, and if not, call me and I'll come get you.
Good to know. Pro tips.
Very excited for that trip to Russia, for sure. Let's see. I'm so excited to get back to the gym again, like normal. That'll be that I've missed terribly. Excited to play soccer again. It's been like what, 4 months now? God, that's terrible. So yeah, excited for those. What else? I mean, yeah, definitely excited for my PhD. One would hope, at least. I don't know. Something that I really liked about MIT when I visited was that people are really passionate about their work and about learning about other people's work. And so I'm very excited to be surrounded in an environment that has so much passion for what people are doing, and learning about so many things that I've never heard about before. So I'm very, very excited. It's going to be like drinking from the fire hose, I'm sure. But yeah, excited for that. And then I guess, yeah, like figuring out what I'm going to do. I sort of mentioned that I'm considering doing some privacy research. I've done some systems research, and I know I like that, but I don't know where I want to land on the spectrum between those two. So I'm just excited to see like how things develop and what I end up doing by the end of it. I think it's gonna be fun.
You're gonna live in GDB. That's what you're gonna end up doing, my friend. Between GDB and the squat bench, that's where you'll be.
I only do print lines. I'm sorry. That's the only way to debug.
That's what I've been saying.
Unironically, it's the only way to debug when you're debugging a kernel. So I definitely have nightmares.
Good meme.
I'm gonna tell Tawari this is the advice that you gave us.
I'm gonna die.
Okay, so for those of you watching the live stream, this is gonna be my last question. So if you guys have questions, this would be a great time to throw them in the chat, and then we can ask them after. But my last question is if either of you have like any advice for college students who want to do something similar to what you guys are doing. I guess you both kind of touched on this, but maybe you can go in depth about like some piece of it that like you haven't talked about yet.
Definitely. Would you like to go first, Misha?
Sure. Kind of echoing the thing we talked about in your third question, what should you do while you're in college? Figure out what it is that you want to do after college. But then also spend time within college and like the last bits of your childhood where you're in that gray area. Carpe diem, what every leaving senior always says to do. But start early. Sorry, I wrote this down, so I'm going to read it. Start early. Be honest with if you have some kind of goal in mind, like I want to be a software engineer at Microsoft, or I want to do a PhD at MIT. Be honest with yourself about the amount of work it will be, but be motivated by the success and achievement that it will yield. And remind yourself often of why you're doing what you're doing. And if you just stop and remind yourself, oh, hey, I'm waking up at 5 a.m. Most people aren't. Whammy. Just kidding. I'm waking up for a reason. I'm going to achieve great things. I'm on the path to success, and that'll brighten your day. And if you just, we learned this in yoga. It was like, be comfortable with where you are, but have a healthy amount of urge to go more.
Yeah, great answer. I think I'll echo something some advice I gave at a banquet earlier at the end of last semester, basically. So I think there are three, maybe four main things that I'd say. So number one, I think, is live a balanced life. I guess there are only three things that are really ever yours. And that's your mind, your body, and your soul. So do something to nurture each one of those, because they grow together, and having a strong foundation in each will allow you to achieve greater success in each one of those. So do something for your body, do some exercise regularly. I would not be here if I didn't do exercise every day. I think that's been instrumental in my academic success as much as my physical ability. Do something for your soul. Do some kind of art, music, drawing, whatever it is, something to express yourself and nurture that side of yourself. And do something for your mind as well. Always challenge yourself in some way and try to grow. And the great thing about that is, in life, sometimes one of those things goes badly, you're getting bad grades or something, or you get injured in playing a sport and you're getting bad grades. One or two of them sometimes go badly, but rarely do all three of them go badly. So when one or two are going badly, you've always got something to catch you, I guess. And that's comforting to know. Also, I'd say never turn down a genuine request for help. I think you generally feel the most fulfilled and happy when you help someone else and see how happy that makes them, as opposed to buying yourself things or making a lot of money. That doesn't bring a lot of fulfillment. So always be that, be happy to help someone when they honestly ask you help. And then the third thing I'd say is every person that you look up to or you think is impressive has failed more than you have. And sometimes we don't see that. I think it's important to ask them about those failures, talk to them about that, have them tell you how they overcame them, or that they did have those failures. Because it's easy to see someone who's successful and think, oh wow, well, they're just special on some metric and I'm not. Or something, a trap that I fell into at some points in college was thinking wow, I really can't screw up this one time, or it'll completely throw me off this track of going to grad school and stuff like that. I have to get this. But I think it's okay to know that sometimes the path is non-linear to your goal, and it's okay to screw up, because the people who are where you want to be have invariably screwed up more than you have. So it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes, and you can come back from them. That's very comforting to know. There's one other thing I wanted to say, but I lost it. I'll say it if I remember in a bit.
Wow, those are great words of advice.
Inspiring.
Yeah, I think we have some questions in the chat.
Yes, we do have this one question. Aditya asks, what is your favorite soccer team and why is it FU Barcelona?
Because it's the only soccer team that matters, and if you haven't heard of them, you aren't a real soccer player now. So for context, FU Barcelona is the second soccer team that Misha and I made, which is filled with CS people, and it's my favorite team because it's won every match that matters, and we've rocketed from not winning a single game our first season to making the semifinals this past semester, and then we got cut short on our. Obviously we're going to win. We were going to win the whole thing, but just got
It
short.
was rigged. Yeah, that was it. Wait, did you guys come up with that name?
Yeah, it was a guy who graduated a couple of years ago.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that name is just brilliant.
Yeah, he was a clever guy for sure. But so favorite team, as you can see, is FC Barcelona and Manchester City as well. Just because they play the most beautiful football, I think.
I think that's it for the chat questions.
Oh man.
Yeah. All right, we will give it a few more seconds in case anyone else has questions.
Oh, actually, I remembered one of the things I was going to say.
Go for
Is that
I'm sorry, your time has expired.
it.
I knew it. I think one of the tools which helped me the most in getting to where I wanted to be was visualization. I think that's absolutely everything. Like, full disclosure, my dream coming into college was to go to MIT for grad school, and that was like, I mean, it was my dream to go there for undergrad, but I didn't get in, and so it was my dream to go there for grad school, and so like, I definitely became a little obsessive about that dream, I think, but visualizing it very clearly, I think, was a very useful tool. So like whenever the going got tough, it was like 1 a.m. and I was working on an OS assignment or something, and I just felt like, oh, I really don't want to debug this race condition. I'm really tired. What's the point, you know? Having a backup of visualization really helped me push through those moments. So for me, it was just picture in your mind how it's going to feel when you get accepted into MIT for your PhD. So whenever the going got tough, that's what got me through it for the most part. Or like if I was stuck on some research thing, I had a period of 6 months when my like the 6 months before I had to apply, which is like the worst time to have a problem with your research. My research was basically in the dumps. Like I was getting terrible results on something that was almost, so I almost published a mistake essentially as like my contribution to the publication, which would have been really bad. That would have been really bad. Retract that. And I had 6 months where I couldn't fix that mistake, and I was stuck on that. And what got me through all the tough moments was just picture like how it's going to feel when you get to that goal. So visualization, I think, is a very important tool, and it oftentimes will be that last bit of gas that you need to get you over the line.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Masterful.
Yeah. So our comments in the chat are, I don't want this interview to end. I need to come up with some questions now. So if you have any last thoughts you want to share with the world.
I'll have you know I'm extremely busy lying on my couch and eating these pad see ew noodles. So I would appreciate your promptness in not disturbing my schedule of procrastination and weight gain.
All right. I think that is it.
If you're in Austin, eat Kismet. They're still open. Thank goodness.
And yeah, if you guys do have more questions for either of us, I think I can speak for Misha when I say like we'd be more than happy to answer any of them. Feel free to like add us on Facebook or email us or whatever.
Yeah.
I think Dee has my email, but I'm happy to post it somewhere if that helps.
Or if you're shy, then just message one of us and we can forward it along for you.
Exactly, yeah.
All right.
More than happy to help.
Thank you both for being here and for all your words of wisdom. And thank you to our viewers for listening. With that, have a great night.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thanks for doing this.
Have a great summer, and hopefully next semester is fun for you guys.
Don't be a stranger.
Yes, definitely.